For more than 50 years, the laser weapon has been the great unkept promise of modern warfare. Ever since the first ray guns appeared in science fiction, engineers have insisted that a real one, a beam of light that could burn an aircraft out of the sky, was just around the corner. And for 50 years, it never quite arrived. It stayed in the laboratory. It stayed on the test range. It became a running joke among defense analysts. The laser weapon is always 10 years away, and always will be. But something has changed. The world's most powerful militaries have finally built these weapons for real. And now, in a strange twist of history, it looks like the first place they will truly be used in a war is not the United States, not China, not Israel. It is Ukraine. This is the story of the global race to build the laser weapon, and why the country that will actually put it to work first is the one fighting for its life right now. Let's start with a tour of what the world has built, because the progress over the last few years has been genuinely staggering. Begin with the United States, which has poured more money into directed energy than anyone. The U.S. Navy has mounted a laser called HELIOS on a destroyer, the USS Preble, and another system called Odin on other warships to blind and burn incoming drones. The U.S. Army is fielding a vehicle-mounted laser for short-range air defense. And these are not paper systems. At a major naval exercise in 2026, an American laser reportedly shot down 50 swarming drones in about 20 seconds. 50 targets, 20 seconds. A beam of light doing the work of an entire magazine of missiles. Then there is Israel, which may have the most advanced system of all. Its weapon is called Iron Beam, a 100-kilowatt laser designed to sit alongside the famous Iron Dome and burn down the rockets and drones that the missiles are too expensive to waste on. Israel has described Iron Beam as the world's first combat-ready laser air defense system, and has moved it toward real deployment to protect its territory. Across the channel, Britain has its own system, called DragonFire, a 50-kilowatt laser that has passed its trials and is headed for Royal Navy warships in the coming years. At a cost so low it is measured in a handful of dollars per shot. And it does not stop with the West. China has thrown its entire industrial machine at the problem, building everything from massive truck-mounted lasers like the Silent Hunter to small portable units a single soldier can carry. Russia has fielded a mobile laser complex called Peresvet since 2019 and has reportedly moved laser systems to its borders to swat down drones. Even Japan has been testing 100-kilowatt lasers on its warships and trucks. Add it all up, and by 2026, more than 18 countries publicly possess some form of high-energy laser weapon. The age of directed energy, promised for half a century, has finally, genuinely dawned. But before we get to Ukraine, you have to understand why the entire world raced to build these weapons in the first place. Because the reason is not really about firepower, it is about money. And once you see the math, everything else in this story falls into place. Think about what a modern air attack actually looks like. An Iranian-designed Shahed drone, the kind that hammers Ukrainian cities every night, costs somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000. A small FPV quadcopter costs a few hundred. Now think about what it takes to shoot one down. An advanced interceptor missile can cost anywhere from hundreds of thousands of dollars to several million. A single missile from a top-tier air defense system like the Patriot runs into the millions. So the arithmetic of this war is upside down. You are firing a $3 million missile to destroy a $20,000 drone or a $500 one. And here is the cruel part. The attacker wins that exchange even when every single drone is shot down. Because they are not trying to get through. They are trying to bankrupt you. Send 100 cheap drones a night, and you force the defender to burn through a fortune in missiles and, eventually, to simply run out. This is the economic trap at the heart of modern war, and no amount of courage or better missiles solves it. You cannot spend your way out of a problem where the enemy pays 100 times less than you do. The laser breaks that trap completely. A laser does not fire a shell or a missile. It fires light, and the cost of a single shot, the electricity to charge it and fire the beam, is measured not in thousands of dollars, not in hundreds, but in a few dollars. Perhaps the price of a cup of coffee. Suddenly the math flips the right way up. It costs the attacker $50,000 to send the drone, and it costs you $3 to burn it out of the sky. And there is no magazine to run dry. A missile launcher holds a fixed number of rounds and then it is empty. A laser can keep firing as long as it has power and does not overheat, effectively an infinite magazine. That is the whole promise, and it is why every serious military on Earth wants this weapon. It is not just another way to kill a drone. It is the only known way to win the cost war that cheap drones have forced on everyone. And how does it actually kill? Not with an explosion. A laser weapon works by focusing an intense beam of light onto a single small spot on the target and holding it there for a fraction of a second up to a couple of seconds, heating the skin until something critical fails. A control surface warps, a wing burns through, a fuel line ignites, or the warhead itself cooks off. Because it is light, it strikes at the speed of light. There is no bullet to lead, no arc to calculate, no travel time. Wherever the beam is pointed, it hits instantly. The catch is that word holding. The beam has to stay locked on one spot on a moving, maneuvering target long enough to do its damage, and that is a genuinely hard engineering problem, which is a large part of why these weapons took 50 years to leave the lab. So here is the question that should stop you. If so many of the world's most powerful and wealthy militaries already have these weapons, some of them very advanced, then why is the first place they will really be used in a war going to be Ukraine? The answer reveals something deep about how military technology actually matures, and it is the real point of this video, because there is an enormous quiet gap between having a laser weapon and using one. Almost everything we just described happened in a controlled setting. HELIOS burning 50 drones was a naval exercise, in clear conditions, against target drones that were not shooting back. Iron Beam is guarding a homeland against sporadic threats. DragonFire is in trials. These are demonstrations, tests, and defensive postures. Hugely impressive, but not the same thing as a laser working night after night, in mud and fog and smoke, against a real enemy who adapts to everything you do and comes back the next evening with a new trick. That last environment, sustained, high-intensity, brutal, real, is the one thing no test range on Earth can reproduce. And it is exactly the environment Ukraine lives in every single day. And you have to understand why that gap exists, because lasers are genuinely, stubbornly hard to use in the real world. A laser needs a clear, uninterrupted line of sight, and its beam can be scattered and weakened by the very things a battlefield is full of. Fog, rain, snow, smoke, and dust all sap its power. It generally kills one target at a time, holding the beam steady on a single drone for a second or more, which is a serious problem when 50 of them are inbound at once. It is hungry for electrical power, which means generators and cooling systems and everything that can break. And its reach, while growing, is still measured in a few kilometers, not the tens of kilometers a missile can cover. None of this makes the laser useless, but it means the difference between a clean demonstration and a messy war is enormous. And only one of those two things tells you whether the weapon can really be trusted. For 50 years, almost nobody has been forced to find out. Ukraine faces, right now, the precise threat that laser weapons were invented to defeat. Cheap drones arriving in enormous numbers. Every night, waves of Shaheds and swarms of FPV quadcopters come at its cities and its front line. There is no better forcing function in the world. When the threat is theoretical, a weapon can stay in testing for a decade. When the threat is killing your people tonight, you take the weapon off the test bench and you point it at the sky, and you find out what actually works, and you fix what does not by next week. War is, and has always been, the most ruthless accelerator of technology that exists. And Ukraine has the system to do it. Its laser is called Tryzub, the Trident, built by a Ukrainian company, mounted on a trailer so it can move, guided by an AI-assisted radar that finds a drone, locks the beam onto it, and holds it there until the target burns. Ukraine first showed it off in 2025, putting itself into the small club of nations with a working combat laser, and it has been maturing ever since, able to kill small FPV drones at close range today, and being pushed toward burning Shaheds out of the sky at ranges approaching 5 kilometers. And there is more than one program. Ukrainian teams have revealed other laser systems too. This is the same fast, chaotic, decentralized model, military units and private companies working in parallel, that has driven every one of Ukraine's other breakthroughs in this war. And then, in late July 2026, the Deputy Commander-in-Chief of Ukraine's Armed Forces, Andriy Lebedenko, said the thing out loud. Within the next 2 to 3 months, he said, Ukraine will have laser weapons capable of engaging aerial targets, and doing it better than machine guns. What is more, he said, the laser can already shoot down FPVs today, and it is already being turned on the Shaheds right now. Not a promise for the future. A weapon crossing, in real time, from the test range into the war. That is what makes this moment historic, and it is bigger than any single weapon. For half a century, the laser has been the future that never arrived, and the reason is that peacetime militaries could afford to keep it in the lab, perfecting it, waiting for it to be ready. Ukraine cannot wait. It has to make the future work now, tonight, against a real enemy. And in doing so, it is dragging the laser weapon across the line that every other military has been standing behind for 50 years. This is exactly how it has always gone. The tank and the warplane were crude curiosities until the First World War forced them into service and made them real. Radar and the jet engine were laboratory projects until the Second World War turned them into war winners in a handful of years. The pattern never changes. The technology is invented in peace, but it is forged in war. And the laser weapon, after 50 years of waiting, is being forged right now, over the trenches and cities of Ukraine. So the rest of the world's militaries, the Americans, the Israelis, the British, the Chinese, are all watching, and they are watching for a very specific reason. They have the same weapons, or better. What they do not have is the answer to the question that only a real war can settle. Does the laser actually work when everything is on the line? When the enemy is adapting? When the sky is full of fog and smoke and 100 drones at once? Ukraine is about to answer that question for all of them. Whatever happens over those Ukrainian cities in the next few months, every success, every failure, every hard lesson about weather and power and range will be studied in every defense ministry on the planet, because it will be the first real data humanity has ever had on what a laser weapon does in an actual war. The laser was invented in the laboratories of the world's richest nations, but it will grow up here, in the one place with no choice but to make tomorrow's weapon work today. And when the history of directed energy is finally written, the first chapter of it being used in earnest will not be set on a test range or a quiet naval exercise. It will be set in the night sky over Ukraine. Thanks for watching. If you want to understand the weapons quietly rewriting how this war, and the next one, will be fought, stay with us, because the future of war is being invented right now.